Hello, in this session, we will try some new features of SAP Design Studio 1.5. There are many new features released for SAP Design Studio 1.5, but in this session, we will mainly try these below features 1.7. Okay, now let's go to the SAP Design Studio and create new application. Give the name. 1.5. Okay, now we just click next. And I want to create an empty analysis application and then click finish. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to define a data source. Okay, I choose add data source and choose browse. And in our case, we're going to choose the efficient. This is the default universe delivered when you install SAP Business Objects. All right, so we click OK. And we need to edit the query specification to define what are the dimensions and measures we want to show in our report. Okay, we just simply drag and drop the state, and full name, and then we also choose the year, month, the column, and for the measure, we choose sales revenue and margin. Right? We can drag and drop like a field in the query field, we just choose this here, and we can try the refresh, see if we get any data. Okay, we have data, so it should be fine. We just click OK, and then OK. So we have defined our data source successfully, right? And the first feature we're going to try is the field line. Okay, so now let's go to the analytic component, and we drag and drop the field line on the top. Okay, and in order to show the effect of the field line, we need to define another like cross table. Okay, so that means we're going to use that field line to filter the cross table. All right. So we define the filter on the top and drag and drop a cross tab on the bottom side. And then we just need to assign the data source to the filter line and the cross table. All right. So we both assign the data source one to them. All right. So you will see we only have the measures in the column, and we need to edit the initial view to drag and drop some dimensions in the row. All right. So we just choose date, city, and year in the row. Sorry. Date, city, and year. All right. Simply click OK. So here we have the cross tab, and we can try run this application, see how it's gonna use the filter line. Okay, so this is a cross tab and this is filter line. You can click the filter line and choose which dimension you want to use to do the filter, right? So for example, we're gonna choose the state. Okay, and I can choose here, I can choose which state I want to display in the cross table. For example, I'm only interested in the California and Florida, right? So click the checkbox and then click apply. So only the California and the Florida will be shown in the cross table, all right? So I can easily cancel the filter, right? Okay, so it's pretty similar to the dimension filter, but dimension filter, you're going to use one of the source data source and then target data source. But here, the filter line, you're going to share the same data source. So that I use the data source to filter another component. In our case, is cross table. All right. Okay, now let's go to try the second feature is navigation pane. Okay, we go back to Design Studio and we're gonna drag and drop a navigation a pen. Okay, so here I just move the cross tab a little bit to the right, so that I can drag and drop the navigation panel. Okay, so here is navigation panel. Let's move a little bit smaller, and I need to assign data source as same as the field line. Okay, so the data source still is the DS1 because we only have one data source, all right? And I click save, and then I just click execute, all right? We just close. Okay, now we're gonna see the navigation panel, right? As you may know, in the SAP Back Query Designer, and if you run the SAP BW Back Query, you have the navigation panel on the left hand, so that you can drill down and drag and remove the dimensions during the reporting runtime. Right here, it does the same thing. Okay, so as you can see, we have the year, state, and city already in the row, and we have the measures, the sales revenue, and the margin in the column. Right, so I can dynamically change the dimensions in the row and even remove them from the rows. Okay, for example, I can remove the state from the rows. Okay, so you may notice already that the report has not been refreshed when I remove the state. You still see the state in the cross tab, right? So because this is a post refresh, which we go back to the navigation panel, you're gonna see this post refresh by default it says to true, which means when you change the navigation, the report will not refresh automatically. Okay, so you can either change that um, property to false, or you can simply click here. Okay, so I click here, you're gonna say state is gone, right? And now let's to add the months back to the report. Okay, so you're gonna see the months in the cross tab. Okay, so it's very straightforward, and it's very useful for the end user to change the layout of the report during the runtime. Okay, so you don't need to go back to the design studio and changing the design time and save and deploy it again. So no, you just need to change the navigation during the report runtime as same as ICBP the back query. Okay, so yeah, then now let's go to the third feature, which is called chart type picker. Okay, and we already know that we can change the SAP Design Studio chart type in the design type, either from like property or even use a script. Okay, but this chart picker will enable the end user to select the chart during the runtime without changing the Design Studio application. Okay, so it's very useful. It's very straightforward features. Okay, now let's try that one. So in order to do that, we just choose the chart type picker. Okay, here, move it here, right? And okay, maybe on the top right, and then I have to drag and drop a chart, right? So here. So here we first need to assign data source to the chart. Okay, yes, one, and we have this one, all right? And then we're gonna associate with this chart into the chart type picker, right? So you're gonna see here, this is the chart reference. Gonna choose the chart one, which is the chart which is defined here. Okay, so that means we're gonna interact with the chart type picker, and the chart type picker will pass the selection we select during the runtime to this chart one. All right. let's try that. Okay, so now the chart type is column. Okay, so we can choose like which column is static bar chart. So it's like this way, and we can try like another like hydrostatic, and we can try this line chart and the pie chart, all the different types. It's very cool. It's very cool feature. So it gives the end user lots of the flexibility to define this. Okay, so yeah. Now let's go to the fourth one, is multiple selection on cross tabs. Okay, so in previous release, we only have like we are able to select the rows of the cross tab, but it only have one row. So for example here, if I run the report again, so now by default the selection is not enabled, right? So we go back to the cross tab, we go to the user interactivity, and you see the selection tab. Okay, in the previous release, you're gonna have single, but here we have multiple. All right. So if we choose the multiple, we click save and run it again. Right. So then we will be able to select multiple rows in the run tab. See, right? We can do multiple rows action for the cross tab. Okay. Um, then we're gonna try the fifth one. It means technical components export to PDF. Okay, so which means now with the SAP Design Studio 1.5, we have the ability to export the application to the PDF. Okay, uh, you know that in previous release, we are able to export this crosstab to the Excel file. Okay, but now we have the new availability or new feature to export the either screen or this report or this report to a PDF. It's pretty interesting feature. So in order to do that, I have to go to the technical components and choose create a child. And this time we choose PDF because we're going to use the PDF feature. Okay. So, and in order to trigger the PDF export, I just create a new like a button so that once we click that button, we're going to use the export. Okay, so we can give a name like for PDF, right? So if I choose unclick, we're gonna choose PDF or export. Okay, it's gonna export the whole application to as a report to a PDF file. Okay, let's try that. All right, so this is our report, and now we just click export PDF. Okay, so there's some settings you want to use the header title or this page number A4. I just keep them as a default and choose click import to PDF. Okay, I click open. See, this is a report. Um, you know, um, for the exposure to the PDF, right? Pretty cool thing, right? Okay, so and then there's another one. We can try that still the technical components called a backend connection, which means uh, now with SAP Design Studio 1.5, you are able to change the backend connections uh, dynamically during the reporting runtime. So before that, we have to change the connections with some scripts, right? So but here we have a new technical components called backend connection, so that we can use that components to allow the end user to change the connection dynamically. Okay, we're going to try that. So still we go to technical components, right click, create child, we call it backend connection, right? And in the backend connection, we have to choose which connection we're going to use. All right. This time we choose BW, which means this connection gonna allow end user to change the data source dynamically. Okay. So how are we gonna do that? So we're gonna copy the name of the backend connection and put a very small script on the startup. Okay, so means during the startup, we allow the the end user to dynamically choose which data source we're gonna use. Okay, and save. Um, or maybe if we don't want to do this, we can choose another button like we call it like change data source, right? On click, we just paste the piece of code we just write, okay? And then we click run. So here is the change data source. Click and say, um, okay, we got some script error because the BW connection is saved on the BOE server side. I have to run this report from the BI Launchpad instead of from the local mode. Okay, so I just make it a little bit larger. So change data source, I save, and then I try to run this report from the BI Launchpad instead of using the local mode. Okay, so we go to the documents, and here is the COS 1.5, which we just created for the Design Studio analysis application. We just double click on the right. We got some, yeah, that's fine. We just, because I sent something wrong with the DS1. Okay, that's fine. We just try the feature change data source. All right, let's click change data source. Okay, and now you are able to select which data source you want change to. Okay, so if we click info area, we see all the info areas from the SAP BW. For example, the business information and warehouse, and BPC. You see, you can choose the data source dynamically. All right, so that's about the backend connection. Okay, and the last thing we're gonna try is the main function. So what's the main function? It's pretty simple. So remember in previous release, if we want to change something, for example, the text of the button, if we click that one, we have to use like this name dot sc alert, sorry, dot that text. Okay, you have to use the both name to send text. But here, instead of using the component name, we have the function need dot text. Like that, you can get the text by need function. Okay, we can try that. So it's save and run this report. Try that. Um, if we click this button, the text will be changed. Okay, this is the text was set by the me function. Okay, I click cancel. Maybe I just need to move it a little bit larger. So, and I don't want to try the PDF export right now. So I just comment this code and I run it again. Okay. See, the text was set by me function. Okay, so it's very useful and a very convenient way to call the scripts. Okay, so yeah, and that's all the new features we covered in this session, and definitely there are more new features like a processing group and data source processing in parallel, which you can see here. And there is a processing group, which means you can assign the data source to be processed in which group. If you have more than one data source to be processed in the same group, and then the Design Studio will process them in parallel instead of the one by one. Okay, so this is another pretty cool features for the performance improvement. And then you have this array and the geog map. Okay, and that's all the new features we covered in this session. And thanks